Lorcana is the newest trading card game here on the market, but in order to build decks, we're going to have to think a little bit differently about how this game works. So let's jump right in and build a deck together here on LorcanaCast. Alright, so we're going to be using the Lorcania.com website to build a brand new deck, and that's going to be looking up over that direction. And this is a great tool for people to utilize in order to find out which decks you think will be interesting, what colors are going to be the most compliant with the way you want to play the game, and it allows you to test out what the ratios are. There's metrics, there's graphs, all kinds of absolutely really cool abilities. So for this video, we're actually going to be building one of my favorite decks, and that's going to be mid-range big bodies. So we're going to be using Sapphire here and Steel to try and ramp out to get big, huge creatures on the field and then overwhelm the opponent with huge stat lines like 6/6, 8/8, stuff that the opponent isn't really going to have an answer for unless they have specifically got hard targeted removal or board wipes. And most of those things are going to be in Ruby or in Sapphire. So let's start sorting this by cost. This is the way I like to work when I start from small to large. And let's get some cards here in the deck. So first off, we're going to start with some Captain Hook and Simba. And this is going to give us a couple options. Captain Hook is a challenger of +2. So when he attacks on offense, you get a 3/2 body that trades up really high, as well as Simba Future King, who allows you to draw a card and then discard a card. So you can dig through your deck to find more options and get those combo pieces out faster. Next up, we're going to put one jump ahead in to help ramp, get more ink in the inkwell as fast as humanly possible. We're going to add an Aurora and a Jasmine here, potentially for shift targets. That might change here in a second. Let's get some removal. Let's put some Smash in to help deal with mid-range bodies we may or may not be able to handle. Throw in a Tinker Belle, Baby Belle. And then let's take a look here. We're going to want Let It Go for removal, Aurora for ward. Now we're going to start getting into some of our bigger bodies. So we've got Maleficent, who's a 3/6 with 3 lore. Massive quester. Absolutely incredible. We'll grab the Tinker Bomb. Get rid of that Simba. We'll grab a Kronk. Grab a Maui, another 3 quester. Very, very scary. And Triton. And then we'll add in our Detective Mickey, who allows you to get some ink out of your deck when you play him. So currently, let's look at our metrics and graphs here. So we're looking kind of interesting. We've got too many cards, 64 cards, way above the curve, but we're in that blue sky phase. We are looking to put together a skeletal system, and then we're going to start cutting the fat. So early game, we've got 8 options here at the 1 and 2 drops. At turn 3, we've got 16. Turn 4, we have nothing, so we're going to want to change that. Turn 5, we've got 16 targets as well. Turn 6, we're at 8. 7 and 8, we only have 1 card, and that's going to be Triton and Maui. So let's look back at our deck and see where can we find some value at the 4-drop slot. So we're looking here at, actually we probably want to add Belle so we can get some more cards in. And let's start trimming down some of our options here. Let's go back to the 4-drop space. There's nothing we really need specifically for this deck type. We want Belle because she can ramp us up. In fact, let's take a look at her ability. So she's a brand new card that was revealed earlier this week, and that is going to be Read a Book is her special ability. During your turn, you may put an additional card from your hand onto your inkwell face down. So while she's on the field, you can play 2 cards from your hand into your inkwell. So that helps ramp up. Now, that does eat a card from your hand. So if you only have 2 or 3 cards in your hand, putting 2 cards in your inkwell, not bad. But that does mean unless you have draw cards like, oh, I don't know, A Whole New World, you're going to start running out of options, which is why we have A Whole New World. Once we dump our hand out and we ramp out with ink, we're going to use one of our bigger bodies to sing the song for its alternate casting cost, paying 0, drawing 7 cards up into our hand, and then we can start playing some big, nasty threats onto the battlefield and hopefully put some pressure on the opponent. So right now we're at 68 cards. We need to start cutting back. So let's get rid of Smash. I don't want to do that, but we don't need removal here at the current moment. We need to get our threshold down to 60. We really need big bodies. So one drops, we've got Captain Hook. That's fine. We've got Simba. That's also fine. Simba can dig for combo pieces. Captain Hook can be used as essentially a removal piece. He can like swing, throw hands into other things you don't want to deal with. Let's see. We've got Jasmine at 3, Aurora at 2, Mickey Mouse at 3, Tinkerbell. Let's drop Jasmine. We're not shifting into her, so we don't need her as a target. Aurora, we probably do want because our big bodies are very vulnerable to removal, and without some sort of tool to stop that, we're going to eat crow, and that's really, really bad. So let's see. Aurora with ward is good. Mickey Mouse helps ramp. Maui helps ramp. Tinkerbell is removal. So this Tinkerbell is definitely one of the best cards in the game. So when you play her, you get to deal 1 damage to each opposing character, so AoE ping damage, as well as on your turn, whenever she banishes another character, you can then deal 2 damage to a targeted thing. So basically, she comes onto the field, deals a bunch of damage, then she challenges, banishes something, deals 2 damage, probably banishes a second thing, because most things have, between 3 and 4 health, and she's already dealt 1 plus 2, so on and so forth. So she's a great tool for our removal package against wide decks, so weenie decks. We can also target out some mid-range things that have 3 or less health. So that's fine. Kronk is going to be one of our bigger bodies. So we've got Kronk, Triton, Maleficent, and then Maui. So let's take a look at these cards real fast. So Kronk, really easy. He's a 6/6 for 6. He's got 2 lore. Basically, the moment you get him down on the field, you're going to either beat up your opponent and bully them off the board, or depending on the speed of the game, you can just start questing with him and you'll be pretty safe. Triton is a 7-drop, so he comes the turn after Kronk. So a 5/9, he's huge. His willpower is insane. Very tough to crack, and he's got 2 lore, so he's a great lore battery. He's a great enforcer, great bully. So again, depending on how your opponent is playing, you can just swing him out and just beat them off the field, and then you've got a giant body. You've also got Maleficent. She is going to be one of your big lore batteries, a 3/6 with 3 lore. She is the turn 5 threat. You slap her down turn 5, and then turn 6, you start questing with her. Your opponent has to answer that. If you have ramp, you can get her out on, turn 4 or, earlier, depending on if you just draw the nuts. And then Maui is your 8/8 with 3 lore as well. You can cheat him out probably by turn 6 if you get enough ramp, or if you get the Belle online, you're able to play 2 cards. So this is a really interesting proposition. You probably want to try and sing your whole new world with Kronk or Triton if you can. Maleficent as a 3/6, you really just want to quest with her. If you put her sideways and exert her to sing the song, she's very vulnerable. Like 3/6 is good, but the opponent could just swing 2 characters with 3/3 into her, and she's toast. Which, if you're a smart player, you want to do, because the opponent may have drawn 7 cards, but you also drew 7 cards off of the whole new world play, and the opponent did not get the 3 lore off of the Maleficent. So as frequently as you can, you want to quest with this character and not, utilize her for singing songs. So at this point, we've really got the nuts and bolts down. Let's look at the songs. We've got Let It Go, One Jump Ahead, and Whole New World. So let's pull those up really quickly here and talk about. So Let It Go is your stock removal. This is going to get rid of things you can't deal with, such as, like, if the game goes long enough, a brave little Tailor Mickey, or maybe, man, there's so many potential threats here. This is just a really great option to turn them off. And the best part is it's an inkable card, and it's a song, and with the speed in which this deck is hoping to go, you could potentially be able to either hard cast or sing the song as early as turn 4. So we'll see how this goes. Actually, no, you're probably closer to turn 5. Either way, again, depending on the speed, you could see this on turn 4. It's kind of a, you hit all the nuts draw, because you would turn 1, play an ink, turn 2, play an ink, then you would one jump ahead. Turn 4, you could play Belle and then play the other one, but then on turn 5, you're still playing Let It Go. So either way, it's probably still going to hit on turn 5, but it's still a great move removal card. Next up is one jump ahead. So this is going to be your tool to jump faster into your lore. You're going to be able to start punching out bigger things on earlier turns and put pressure on your opponent. And then a whole new world is your way to refill your hand. You're going to be dumping a ton of cards into your inkwell, and you need a way to refill your hand. Otherwise, you're just out of gas. You're out of resources. You're probably going to lose the game because top decking cards is very risky. So this is a really great way to play out your hand, get your inkwell filled up, and then boom, sing the song with a character, cost 5 or more, get 7 new cards, play a big, huge character, play something large, maybe even play Let It Go, who knows. But it gives you the flexibility and the tools to keep that pressure on the opponent over and over and over again. And let's take a look here at the metrics and graphs. I like this a lot. This is a great feature from Lorcana. So we've got 12 non-inkable cards here, 48 inkable cards. So a really good threshold. And let's look at that curve again. Turn 1, 8 cards. Turn 2, 8 cards. Turn 3, 8 cards. So a very flat line. You don't want to see too much of this going on. Turn 4, it's just Belle. That's okay, because don't forget, turn 2 and turn 3, we also have ramping cards to kind of get us to higher thresholds. So we may or may not really care once we get to round 4, because we're probably going to have 5 or 6 ink available, and then we can start playing the big cards, which are going to be, surprise, in the 5 and 6 drop slot. So at 5, we've got 16 cards. At 6, we've got 8. And then 7 and 8, we've got 4 cards. So that's going to be Triton and then Maui. So this is a fun list. You can try it with your friends. The idea is you've got a lot of speed. You've got a lot of flexibility. You don't have a ton of removal. You've got Let It Go and you've got Tinker Bomb. Those should be good enough answers for evasive decks, white weenie decks where you've got Stitch Rockstar just dropping a ton of little 1 and 2 bodies. This should be able to deal with Amethyst Rush, where they're going to be using things like Pascal, Baby Mal, lots of little bodies that they might try and hide behind Bodyguard. This is also really good against some control decks because cards like Flynn Rider and Cheshire Cat, they have a lot of really high lore values and a lot of really low willpower. Hans, the new character that has 3 willpower, he's a 4-drop for 3, doesn't really like Tinker Bomb because you get the 1 damage from the play. If she challenges and banishes something, you put 2 damage into the Hans and boop, gone. If he's tapped, then you could swing into him with Tinker Bomb and then blow something else up. So you've got some play, you've got some tools, but the idea behind this deck is that you've got the gas to get yourself into the bigger bodies. But let's talk a little bit about what you want to see here for the mulligan. So realistically, we're trying to get to as many ramping cards as we can and then establish ourselves with a whole new world and a big body. So we probably want to see things like Simba early game, so that way we have a body and we can dig. We want to see the 2-drop Let It Go, so on turn 2 we can play the land, get the extra value. At this point, we probably on turn 3 could see a Belle. So it'd be turn 1, play a land, turn 2, play a land or ink a card, play the 1 jump ahead, turn 3, you play a land, so you're at 4 ink, you could play a Belle, and then you have a 5th ink online. Turn 4, you could play 2 lands, so that would put you at 7. Then you play, well, actually, you could just play Whole New World and refresh your hand. Oh my gosh. That is, that's pretty spicy. So yeah, you want to see critical cards like Belle, Whole New World, 1 jump ahead. Simba can help you if you don't see all of those pieces. But yeah, that's kind of a good mulligan. So that way you're sitting on, I think we said 7 ink on turn 5. And you have a 7-card hand. Not too shabby. So that can keep you really aggressive. You could also, depending on the matchup, go for like turn 3 Tinkerbell. So turn 1, you play an Ink. Turn 2, you play an Ink. And then you play 1 jump ahead. Turn 3, you play an Ink. And then you drop a Tinkerbell. Turn 4, you play an Ink and you shift, blow something up, deal AoE damage, deal 2 damage, and then on turn 5, you want us to have the whole new world in your hand. You pop that either by playing it, like hard casting it, or you could alternate cast it with Tinker Bomb, and now you've got a brand new hand. You've got plenty of ink on the Inkwell side. That's another really good pathway to take. So the deck, although it has some awkward matchups, so like evasive, you don't really have a lot of great answers for evasive if you don't happen to hit the Tinkerbell Baby Bell and then Tinker Bomb combo to shift out. You don't have a lot of AoE damage. You don't have grab your sword. You don't have be prepared. So what you have to do is really, really, really dig out for the Tinkerbell combo, and then you start putting pressure on the opponent. Let It Go kind of helps against things like maybe Genie, Tigger, Goofy, where they have bigger bodies that can quest for a lot. But realistically, what you're going to have to do is try and slow them down because they're going to be able to outpace you in the long game, and you don't have an evasive tool at the current moment of cards revealed to deal with that. You also might have some problems with the lore rush decks if they get way ahead of you early game. So your bodies, say you're playing against like Amethyst or Amber, and they're playing a lot of those low to the ground 1 and 2 drops that have lots of lore, like LeFou, Lilo, Baby Maleficent, and they're just getting up to like 7, 8, 9, 10 lore. By the time you get your bigger bodies on the field, you can shut them down. The problem is they're so far ahead in lore that they can just build up a quick little wall, and then on one turn tap 4 or 5 bodies, and then poof, they're gone. Now, again, the Tinkerbell, Tinker Bomb combo helps put them in check, because if you have the combo, you can play a Tinkerbell and on the next turn shift up and blow out all of their 1/1s, and then hopefully they quested with something and you're able to then challenge it, banish it, and deal an additional 2 damage to another threat. If they're smart, they're not going to do that, so you have to use your AoE damage to shut out all of the 1/1s, but then they can just use a 2/2 or a 1/2 like a LeFou. So it creates an interesting situation. So again, the deck is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great to play with friends. I think this will be a lot of fun multiplayer also because your bodies are so big, they're hard to take out. But you have your downsides, just like every other deck. So thank you all for watching. Think about when you're building your Lorcana deck. How do I use the ink cards? How do I use the non-inkable cards? How do I build combinations and synergies? And how do I keep my hand full of cards so that way as I'm playing, I'm not dumping out all of my resources and then I'm playing a top deck game where I'm just drawing a card, playing it, drawing a card, playing it. Because at that point, you're at a really big detriment because you're at the luck of the draw, the heart of the cards, hoping to get what you want. So thank you everybody for watching. My name is Sugi. I'm with LorcanaCast. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode of the podcast.